All right, so Alex Jones, I'm sure everyone's been following all the stuff that's been going down with him. He's ordered to pay nearly $1 billion to the Sandy Hook families. And right after that was announced, he actually went on Steven Crowder's show to talk about it. And one of the questions that Steven asked him was why he hasn't been on Joe Rogan's podcast at all recently. And you could tell Steven just wanted Alex to start trashing Joe. And Alex did throw some shade at Joe, but he didn't criticize him too much. I think Steven was probably hoping for a little more. But I also just think Crowder wanted to hear Alex talk about how he's more pro free speech than Joe is. And he did get that from him at least. And then of course they used that to segue into how great Steven's platform is and how people should be donating more money to him. So let's just jump into the clip here. And I think it's pretty funny how it starts because it's pretty obvious that Steven's saying this just because he wants to try to make Joe look bad.
Hey, when's Rogan going to have you on his show? Why aren't you doing his show today?
You know, I don't want to be mean to Joe. Joe told me, last time I was on a show was 2 years ago, and it was one of the biggest shows he ever did with, who was on the show with me? It was a great comedian, really funny. Yeah, Tim Dillon. And Joe's like, yeah, we'll have you on a couple months. And then, it's pretty obvious what's going on. Just a little too much heat for Joe to have me on, which is fine. He had courage about the vaccines. He's had courage about censorship. He's been criticizing the power structure, but he's not as hardcore as Steven Crowder, and I'll just say it. But at least he overall defends free speech, and I just don't think Joe can, handle it.
I could be wrong here, but I don't think Joe Rogan's even talked about Alex Jones at all recently, like any of his court cases or anything. So he's definitely scared to even have anything to do with that. So I think, I doubt we'll see Alex Jones on his podcast ever again, unless like shit really dies down, like in a few years maybe or something. But even that, probably not. I wonder if Joe was still on YouTube, if that would change anything. Because if he had him on right now while he's on Spotify, that'd be a shit show. Like, that company would take a huge hit. I'm sure the employees would start walking out. I just doubt they'd even let him air that episode. I feel like it'd cause too much controversy. And I'm sure it'd get a ton of views and a lot of people would be talking about it. But I don't think Joe even cares about that at this point. I mean, he signed a deal. He's getting paid no matter what. If for YouTube and, like, he gets paid per how many views he gets and he wants to get more attention, maybe he'd do it. But I think he just wants to kind of take it easy. I don't think he wants to get involved in that much controversy right now. So this part right here I thought was hilarious. Alex starts talking about how him and Joe were out to eat like last month or something, and he was begging Joe to get on his podcast, and he said that's a pet peeve of Joe's, and Joe was just getting annoyed with him, it sounds like.
We were out at dinner about a month ago, last time I hung out with him, and it's his pet peeve not to bring it up. And I just said, man, it really helped me with this upcoming court case because the whole media is against me. If I could get on there and explain things. And he just said, Alex, you got, there's too much craziness going on. Let's just get through this. We'll talk about it later. So I'm not really worried about it. Obviously, I'm the big interview he'd want. He even said, listen, you're like nuclear weapons. It's a big deal to have you on, but I'm not worried about it. It's really a question for Joe.
Yeah, I wish somebody had asked Joe that question, or somebody would bring up all the Alex Jones stuff going on, because it sounds like Joe wants nothing to do with it, and he's probably scared to address it at all. And I think that's what Steven's trying to get at here. He's trying to make it seem like Joe maybe doesn't support free speech as much as people thought he did. Alex just said Joe is not as hardcore as Steven is. But I just thought it was so funny that Alex admitted that Joe's pet peeve with him is when he tries to bring up going on Joe's podcast. So he probably needs to be careful because he doesn't want to upset Joe too much. And that's also probably why he's not really trashing him too hard right here.
Because
no, I know. I'm just asking because you talk about how you're hanging out with him, and not only, if not him, he has a bunch of friends who could have you on. He has a whole podcast network. I don't really have that. You've been to our studio. It's really just me. I'd love to grow it eventually with other people and be able to throw more support behind folks. But right now it's me behind the desk.
On the courage scale, Steven Crowder's a 10, Alex Jones is a 10, and Joe Rogan's an 8. And I'll take an 8 all day over our enemies that are at a 0.
Of course.
And so I'm nothing but thankful to Joe for all the heat he's taken having me on.
Right.
And so I totally understand it. And you know what? I don't want to give out any inside baseball here, but I'm just going to leave it at this. I'll tell you off air if you want, but it's private. The very same people trying to silence me, I'm not going to get into it on air, but there's been some real harassment of Joe and stuff that's gone on.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know that's happened with him, and these people are, and I'm on that. I'm on that list as well. So I know we all deal with it, and it's not. That's why I say for people out there who are watching, if you're listening right now, by the way, on YouTube, please hit the like button, hit the share button. Leave a comment below because you won't find it in the algorithm. And I do ask that you join up at Mug Club. I do ask that you go head, or if you want to just do the free thing.
This is an information war.
It absolutely
People should be flooding you with funding. You're one of the only professional people doing top flight comedy and analysis. I mean, it's better than the production on like these late shows that have giant budgets, 20 times your budget. People should flood you with support, and more importantly, word of mouth, because I know that's the real currency we all want, is to override the censors and to win the info war. So absolutely.
All right, so that's about it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think Joe will address this at all, like address Alex Jones and the court cases at all, or if he'll ever have Alex Jones on again, or if Spotify's the reason he won't have on Alex Jones. Let me know your opinion on all this, and then make sure you hit the like button, then hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.